This is Worldview, and thank you for joining us. We're coming to you live from our studio in Johannesburg. Tonight, we take a look at the upcoming Democratic Republic of Congo presidential elections in 2016. Will it hold its presidential elections in November of 2016, satisfying a key demand of the opposition? Election officials announced the date after violent protests erupted last month over fears that President Joseph Kabila was trying to delay polls. Now, the government denied the claim and dropped plans for a controversial census to be held before elections. Mr. Kabila is constitutionally barred from contesting the poll. He took power in 2001 after his father, Laurent Kabila, was assassinated. He has won 2 disputed elections since then and cannot stand for a 3rd elected term. Joseph Kabila, the president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, faces a historic choice. Does he step down when his constitutionally limited 2 terms in office come to an end in December of 2016? Or does he succumb to the idea of indispensability that is making the rounds in the parts of Africa and try to cling to power? Now, the issue is the subject of intense debate in Congo. Presidential Kabila says that he has not yet publicly stated his position about what he will do in 2016. But he has done little to stem intense speculation about his possible reluctance to relinquish office. Now, joining me in studio tonight is Dr. Kalala Ilunga, a political analyst on the DR Congo political and economical issues. Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me.
Okay, now this is the road to the much-awaited elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo 2016 coming up. Not so much of time left, literally 1 year and a few months, which means very soon we will be talking about the elections. Now, why might Kabila want to stay past his mandate beyond the peaks of power? Many assume, though, that he fears that his family, for example, in a meeting he raised in the spectre of Congo's first democratically elected leader, Patrice Lumumba, who was executed after an apparently Western-backed-up coup. Though he says that Mr. Lumumba is the real father of democracy, given the fact that he was the first person to be democratically elected who was willing to step down but was still assassinated. Why would he still hang on to power?
Thank you. What I'd like to tell you is that the political situation in the DRC is really very volatile. And our country is not at peace. As you know that the country is at peace where there is no fear and where the people are not needy. The problem is really very, 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 very interesting. We've got people who are willing intentionally to see Kabila to run for the third term. Mm-hmm. And you explained properly what had been done. You remember very quite in January, you wanted to introduce, what do you call it, a law saying that elections can't be held without census to be organized, but people were killed about it.
The people were actually killed for coming against that?
Yes, coming against that one. You know, oppositions organized people to go to protest, and people, there were at least 40% killed because they didn't want Kabila to come out with this kind of issues. Another problem is that, you know, Kabila's been, as you said, has been in power since 2011. And as you remember, it was organized in South Africa, the inclusive dialogue to allow Congolese to be together so that they can produce a constitution, what it was produced and in 2006. And Kabila was elected for the first time in 2006 and the second time in 2011. Mm-hmm. But the law is very clear about what you call the length of the term of office of the president. The problem is that our constitution is here, is clear. it can be amended at any time. But it's one article which can't be amended. It's Article 220. What that article says is very stipulated what I'm going to tell you.
Is it talking about the presidency?
Yes. That article says that the Republican form of our state can't be amended. One. Secondly, the universal principle of suffrage can't be amended. Three, the representation form of our government can't be amended. Four, the number and the length of the term of office of the president can't be amended.
So in other words, for President Kabila to actually try and amend this is out of context. Now, in addition to that, according to political insiders and investigative journalists, the Kabila family is accused to have amassed a considerable amount of fortune, which could make them vulnerable to future investigations. What is your comment on that?
You know, is taking into consideration the principle of what has been said about Kabila in terms of his family. It's happened everywhere in Africa. Look at there's so many presidents doing the same things. But the principle of presumption, I can't now, me myself, confirm that Kabila, as in his family, they've been involved in this kind of things, because you know you must let the rule of law to determine what happened. But the reality is that since we've been independent, we are facing four characteristics. The first one is unemployment. Up to now, we are facing that one. The second one is what do you call it? Poverty. Up to now, and the third one is violence.
What is the employment rate in the DRC?
Up to 65%, and most of them they are young people unemployed.
Okay, that's the unemployment rate.
Yes, unemployment.
Okay.
Right. And when I'm talking about unemployment, we've got all different types of unemployment. You know, it's the structural one, the cyclic one. You know, and we don't see our government doing things to overcome this kind of challenges. And the poverty, you know, people that are very poor in the DRC. The inequality is really is very, very, very high. And as you know, and inequality brings vulnerability. And don't forget one thing, which is very important. DRC is surrounded by 9 countries, neighboring countries, 9. And when you don't have internal cohesion, it will be a big problem. Just let me bring to you that a political truth in politics is saying that the country vulnerability, the external country vulnerability, depends on its internal cohesion. We don't have that internal cohesion in DRC up to now. Kabila, the president and the government, they've came out this year with the government of the cohesion, but still we are facing the same problems.
Okay, now, Mr. Kabila has perhaps little room to maneuver, and a broad census has emerged in the country that a formal third presidential term at this point in time is constitutionally impossible. So, Congolese speak instead of a possible glissment. Has this happened before, or this is a glissment that is more or likely less to happen in the upcoming 2016 elections?
No, what they tried to do in January, that's glissment, to organize the census before organized to hold the election, the general elections. That was the glissment. That's why people didn't agree to go in that way. One. Secondly, now they're talking about dialogue. It's part of the glissment. Before that, they're talking about the financial problems. The DRC doesn't have money to organize the elections. Those things, they are part of the glissment. You know, how far can he go? That's the question. How far can he go from that one? That's why the political party, they are really very they are alert. They are really fighting. They are really showing to people that what the government is willing to do is anti-constitutional.
Okay, but how effective are the judicial structures that have election responsibilities, such as your civil court and the constitutional court? Is there any need for reinforcement during the period or the time of elections?
Look what the constitutional court did. They came out with the called act, saying that they advising the Electoral Commission to organize the governance elections before the local elections, and so that they can modify the old schedule of electoral system. And the opposition, still the opposition, saying that what that constitutional institution is doing to do, it's part of, they can't accept it. Why? They say that those guys, they are in link. They are working for Kabila, so that they are not applying as is recommended the principle of rule of law.
Okay, so although the force of the explosion is hardly surprising, it begs the question, why such discontent, though, such a strong desire for change, when the current ruler has probably done more than any other since independence to reconstruct and modernize the country? We're talking about the same ruler who has also helped to soften the M23 rebels. So why so much discontent towards President Kabila?
You know, we are talking now, the government is talking about the economic growth of 80%. But we are still facing, as I told you, the challenges in employment.
But do you think if you change the president at this point in time, the unemployment rate will improve and all these other issues? Or is it just a question of time, perhaps?
No, it's a question of, first of all, respecting the law. Kabila is at the end of his term. You know, Chinese proverbs say that, tell me, I will forget. Show me. I will remember.
Okay.
And involve me, I will understand.
Okay.
The problem is that our political dispensation doesn't involve people to understand where that people is going to. What the president, the government said, what they did, they tell people. One day, in 2005, in 2009, the President Kabila addressing the Congress, the speech of the, the State of the Nation, said that it's the first time DRC has got $1,400,000,000 to be invested in social sector. It was said.
And did that happen?
It was said. But people had forgotten. Even those who were there, where the president was explaining, telling to people that they've got $1 billion, they didn't even remember the president saying so. They've forgotten. Why? Because the catch of results they don't see. And the second one, Chinese say that, please show me, I will remember. Kabila came. We are not here for the Kabila bashing, but he came with, he did something. As they said, you know, he did something. He showed to people that things can happen still. But the problem is that it didn't.
Okay, so amongst the candidates that are vying for the presidential seat come 2016 November, is there one candidate that you feel might represent the interest of the Congolese people and support that? Is there anyone that is perhaps outstanding amongst them?
That's the big problem.
That is your own comment that I'm sticking
problem,
for here.
That's the big problem in DRC. The opposition is divided. Look what happened in 2011. Kabila changed, the president changed the rule, Article 71. In 2006, what do you call it? It was 2 rounds for elections. You know, the first and the second one. And the one will be elected, the second one will be the president. But in 2010, when he saw what happened in the Ivory Coast and what happened in Guinea-Conakry, where the second was elected as the president of the country, and the first one wasn't elected, he changed the law, saying that it will be just to go for the one round for elections.
Okay, I'm afraid we're going to have to take a short break there. Just hold that thought. We'll continue after this short break. Stay with us. We'll be back soon.
Every day, we keep record of moments in our lives, diaries of our experiences, from good experiences to not so good experiences. But you can live your best, soaring higher above all odds.
You want to have an extraordinary life. He says there's a way. Refuse to let anybody demean you. You're God's best.
This message is now available on DVD and downloadable formats. To order, please call the following numbers, or you can download on mobile at the Pastor Chris Digital Library app. Hurry now. Don't wait another moment.
Welcome back. You're still watching Worldview live from our studio in Johannesburg. I was about to say live in our studio in the Congo. Can you imagine that? Now, in Congo, too, progress has been made, albeit very slow, though. But it has widened inequalities rather than narrowing them, which is something that you actually touched on. And the sense of exclusion have been heightened, especially among the young people who have studied a great sacrifice, yet still find themselves without work or prospects. And this is what we were talking about before we went on break. But how can it be best addressed in as much as you can still change the presidency? What would be the best way to tackle this problem, this issue facing the youths?
Can I answer to the question, the previous question, saying that if I've got
okay, that's
yes.
fine. We can stop from there.
I told that opposition party is divided, and that the division it was noticed in 2011. They went. Tshisekedi was there, Kamir was there, Keng was there, for one you know that, and they didn't unite themselves to compete against Kabila. That's the problem.
A coalition. You're talking about a coalition?
Coalition. That didn't exist at the coalition. You know that you're going to the election for only one round election. You can't go like that. You know, that's a big problem. And that's it's showing that really we've got a problem of leadership in our country.
So what is the best way to tackle the issue of unemployment facing the youths especially? How can it be best addressed?
We must, our what do you call it, our economical system. You must have the tectonic economical system, which is very important. We are talking about growth, but this economical growth, if it doesn't absorb the unemployment. If it doesn't create the resources, that's nothing. Nothing else can happen. And let me tell you what's very interesting is that since DRC is the DRC, we've got economical growth only when we are assisted. When we are assisted by the what do you call it, the World Bank. What, that's very strange. What's very strange? When are we as Congolese?
Rich in minerals as well.
Yes, we are rich in minerals. But when are we ourselves produce the economical growth by ourselves without us being assisted?
Okay, now let me take you back a little. Earlier on, you did mention that there were people that were killed in some protests that we have actually been seeing on the videos showing in the back there, when people were protesting against President Kabila vying for a third term. Were politicians who voiced consensus about possible third presidential term run by Kabila sacked from the ruling coalition, or is this just perhaps a rumor? Is it true that they were actually sacked from the government? Some other politicians that were in the government who would then say, Mr. Kabila, you cannot run for a third term because the constitution does not support that. Were they actually removed from office for having gone against the president?
Yes, they did it. You know, they had the gumption of telling things differently according to what is written in the constitution. They said that they won't allow the president to go for the third term. But still the problem, they've been sacked, that for sure. But we can't, excuse me, we can't, when we talk the same, when we think the same, and when we act the same, it will be the recessive behavior which will rise on the top. They can't, you know, they don't know how to engage the enemies. They can't support other people coming to contradict what they want. But the big problem here is the president himself. Is the president himself. He didn't come out to explain to our population what he think about the rumors, saying that is going for the third elections.
Okay, so how guaranteed is the right of free expression for the people of the Congo, civil society and the opposition as well? Does media actually give them enough coverage?
It's not freedom of media in DRC. It's very, very complicated. When you are there, they are treated. It's not really. Myself, I experienced it. You know, they are presenting that DRC has got the freedom of speech, but being there, you won't. It's issues which must be really addressed. That's issues of the freedom of speech is very big in DRC. Okay,
quickly before we close, Jean-Bertrand Iwanga, Mr. Iwanga, General Secretary of the Union for the Congolese Nation, that is the UNC, was arrested and taken to court the same day, accused of insulting the president and inciting tribal tensions by demanding that Kabila return to Rwanda after the 2016 elections, meaning that he would have stepped down. Can we say that this arrest was a well-calculated act that aims to muzzle the opposition? Because for once, the government actually has the impression that there is some sense of unity at this point in time from the opposition and from the Congolese people as a nation for him to step down.
What that man said, Kabila must return to Rwanda after elections, undermining something.
Are we saying that he's originally from Rwanda?
Undermining something.
Are we saying that
yes,
President Kabila is
exactly that he wanted to he said that. He said that. That's the reality, according to him. But please, we've got our constitution here. Kabila is the president of the country, elected based in that constitution. You can't be a president of the DRC
But you didn't quite answer my question there. Is President Kabila originally from Rwanda?
I don't even, I can't tell you. I'm not, what's interesting for me now, talking about what is in this constitution. This kind of questions, you know, just depart me for the constitution. Kabila is the president for DRC. That is a fact. Because he was elected, is a fact. When you take 72 article of that constitution says that you can't be a president for DRC if you are not a Congolese by origin.
Okay, but you know, it's just unfortunate that we've run out of time, because this was going to lead me to a next question to say, is that why we have seen so much support of the rebels fighting against the M23 coming more from Rwanda than any other country? But I guess that will be a question for the next program when we get deeper into the road to the DRC Presidential Elections 2016. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Kalala, for your time there. Now, the fragmented governing majority is running out of options to avoid the 2016 deadline. The government's attempts to amend both the constitution to allow Joseph Kabila to run for a third term and election law face strong, including internal opposition, as was evident in the January 2015 mini-political crisis over proposed changes to the electoral law. Now, this mini-crisis, which triggered deadly violence and repression against pro-democracy activists, gave a first hint of what could be in store for 2016. In this tense domestic context, engagement by international actors is met with an increasing insistence on national sovereignty that affects, in particular, the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the DRC, that is MONUSCO. If Kabila chooses to abide by the constitution, he would become the first Congolese president to step down voluntarily for another elected president, arguably making him the father of democracy in Congo, which I suppose would make most Congolese people happy. And that would be a major step forward for a nation that suffered brutal colonial rule under King Leopold II of Belgium, decades of post-colonial dictatorship under Mobutu Sese Seko, and then years of deadly war in which a constellation of rebel groups and armies from the 9 African states battled on Congolese soil. Well, that's all we have time for this evening. Join us again next Thursday, same time, as we bring you more update on the world's political and current affairs. Thank you for watching. Good evening.